Hey guys, we're live again. I'm Ann Brennan with ASMM Digital, and we are back. It is Thursday. This was the fastest week I think I have had of the entire coronavirus. Mind me if I've lost my mind a little bit. Before we start, I do want to do another shameless plug for Burgers and Bands and ask, please, 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 if you can donate to us, if you can donate to Burgers and Bands at burgersandbands.org, we'd appreciate it. We have about $100,000 worth of grants to give. We thought we'd raise $100,000 in our May event, and then we would have more to give in our October event. And now it looks like we'll have to wait until October. But truthfully, we need to be able to fund all of those grants before September, because I think when the kids start back to school, the schools are going to have more need for mental health than ever before. So if you can donate, burgersandbands.org, we'd really appreciate it. And before we start, I want to remind you, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter, and we're live on Facebook. And you can subscribe to us over there. We'd really appreciate that as well. And if you have questions, you can ask them and we'll pull you up on the screen. So feel free to shamelessly plug your business while you ask the question, because you might get up on the screen. So that'd be good. All right, today I want to introduce you to Kate Bradley Chernis from Lately. Hi, Kate, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's a crazy time for us, right?
Yeah, it's so, I'm sure we've all thought about this, but like in 30 years, what will the textbooks say? Will they have textbooks? Like, what will the perspective be? So
Yeah,
curious, right?
exactly. Yeah, I have. It's because for us, we look back and it was 9/11, right? We look back and we talk about 9/11, but our kids, I have a 13-year-old, and this is going to be something that shapes his whole life, I think. Will he ever shake hands in a business meeting?
Yeah, right. I
Right?
know. I wonder
So
where.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very, it's daunting, but it's also exciting, because this, conflict causes change and innovation, right? Um,
right.
and and challenge and I'm seeing so much innovation around my friends, my neighbors, my colleagues, and that part really, it's hard to be happy in this weird time, but I'm admitting that there's things that makes me happy, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you are lucky, Kate, because you're like me. You work with other businesses. That's what you do. So we're not just in our business and with consumers, which is also cool to be with consumers, but watching other businesses who are pivoting and changing and doing amazing things in the middle of this, and it gives you hope for what, everybody's so worried. And I'm like, I have hope. I think great things are coming.
Yeah, I was just talking to my friend, who runs the innovation side of a very well-known international hotel chain, and he said we're a startup now, and that's how we're thinking. And I was like, I just got chills even thinking that right now
Yeah,
because
actually,
I'm impressed with that.
that's
Sorry.
exactly what happened when you said that to me. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally true. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
really, really cool.
yeah. I
So
was super. I felt in a weird, strange way. I felt like proud of them because I was like that. For a large company to have even that thought and to then embrace it is, very impressive to
yeah, I read that. And I remember when I first started this business, I did it fearlessly. And then after about a year and a half, I started having more fear. And probably for
me.
8 months, I was like, and we didn't grow at all during that time. And then something reminded me that, wait a second, you've got to change that mindset. You've got to go back to what that was, where you lived fearlessly and went for it. And then we grew astronomically. So I
Yeah,
think
it's
this is a
true.
good time for people. Yeah.
I know it sounds so trite and people say it all the time, but only you hold yourself back, and it is so much in your mind. Definitely fortune has a play, but, what you can control. For example, I started doing meditation this year or last year actually, which I have poo-pooed forever. I do all kinds of freaky deaky health stuff. Like I'm good. I'm cool with that part, but I just was like, I don't have time for this. And then so many people started saying to me, that I respect. And then I had this, kind of revelation one day, which is the to-do list. It was getting so overwhelming and I couldn't possibly get to the end anymore. And I couldn't even possibly get to the end next week or the week after. And I saw this and it felt so crushing, and I thought, all right, this isn't going to change. So I'm going to have to change my perception. So I said,
Yes.
all right, meditation it is. Right?
That's really great. And actually, I haven't meditated in about 6 weeks. And last night, I literally said to my husband, I have so much work to do that I could work 24 hours a day for the next 3 months and I would still not catch up. So maybe I should start meditating again. Good push there. So, all right. Well, I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to tell us, tell us about Try Lately, and then we're going to talk about how you got there.
Yeah, sure. So Lately uses artificial intelligence to turn long form content like blogs, videos, podcasts like this into dozens and dozens of amazing social posts. And we do that by studying what your customers care about. We look back at a year of your social posts, we analyze it, and we look for the words that appear in the highest engaging posts. And then we create a writing model based on that that helps you produce content that they care about in real time all the time and in large quantities. So essentially making a small business to have the same ability as a large giant company in a few seconds for dimes.
Right. Well, and what I like about it is that that's exactly it. If you're a business that doesn't have a lot of content, it's a lot harder to use lately. But I have a lot of businesses that have a lot of content. I have a lot of businesses who are creating blogs and creating podcasts and YouTube videos, and you can use that to get repurpose all that information that you've got in there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, a couple of things. We discovered that marketers hate writing.
Yes. Yeah.
And most people are now marketers these days, especially if you're starting your own business. And so it's that fear of the blank page is a real thing. Like, what do I say? So why not have artificial intelligence start you on third base? And then we give you, the human, the option to come in and edit and optimize it to take the whole thing to home plate, right? Because the human is an important part of any messaging. You want to have that
right.
kind of connection there. But yeah, I mean, one of the other things that I saw too was that companies are constantly guessing what their customers want to say. And like, also, why do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Right, exactly. Well, and I think you'll be surprised if I started out as a writer, and I remember putting things out and I would say to my husband, this one's going to do so well. And it would just flop. And then I'd write one that I'm like, I can't believe I put that out. It was such crap. Why did I do that? And it would just skyrocket. And I was like, what the heck? I clearly don't know.
It's true. Like, it's amazing because where the focus has been a lot for people is on analytics, which is this, marketers tend to get lost down this rabbit hole of data that they don't really understand, and they certainly can't translate to the quote rest of us. But when you make it super easy, like these words equal this engagement, it's a no-brainer.
Right, exactly. All right, so I have to go. We have to talk about this because I do know you were a DJ and now you're a CEO of a tech startup, which is, so tell us how that happened.
Yeah, so my last gig was broadcasting to 20 million listeners a day for XM satellite radio in my other life. So about, I don't know, 2004 that was. But I was a DJ up and down the Eastern Seaboard at a bunch of album alternative stations. So like, I'm old, so I'm 46. So like The Police and Ryan Adams, and this is, way before EDM, Talking Heads, that kind of thing. So when I was at XM, actually, here's this big corporate company, and I was always working in like pirate kind of jobs. I was a line cook forever, and DJ and stuff like that. And a corporation, it's not exactly a nimble place, even though at the time XM was a startup. But suddenly I felt like really choked. And yes, there was eons of sexual harassment, which honestly wasn't so annoying to me because it was part of the deal. It was part of the radio culture. So like I expected it and knew that. But what was unexpected was, for the first time, actually not for the first time, but for more than ever before, I was not listened to and not validated and not given the credit for the work I was doing. And that was incredibly frustrating for me. And nobody cared, not even the other women around. And there was nowhere to go to. You couldn't go to HR. It was like, there was no respite. And my body started screaming at me. So I got all these different ailments over and over again. And it was just saying, you need to make a change. And I wasn't listening. And so finally it got so bad that I was forced to listen. And I moved to another job at another boys club in music. And the same stuff was happening. And I was a miserable person. I was a terrible employee too, because I was complaining all the time and I had no confidence and I was crying a lot. And one day my dad, he was sick of it.
Yeah.
And he shook me by the shoulders lovingly and he was like, you can't work for other people. And there's no shame in that.
That's awesome. That's really, it's funny because my husband was the person who did that to me. He said, but I was doing, he was tired of me complaining. He was tired of me complaining about who I was working for. And it was a similar idea. And he said, just go out, just do it on your own. But how do you go from that to coming up with this idea? Because this is a pretty far over idea.
Yeah. So well, that week that I had that conversation with my dad, my husband also gave me Guy Kawasaki's Art of the Start, that startup book, right? And right in the first chapter, maybe early second chapter, it says, don't make a plan and just get started. And so I was like, well, why am I wasting this time reading this book? So I checked the book, and it just so happened that the next day I had a meeting with 2 angel investors. I did not know they were angel investors. They were delivering me some product for work. And we were at lunch, and so I was myself because I was out of the building and I was just kind of ranting and raving like I normally do. And they fell in love and they were like, we really like you. We want to give you $50,000 and start a company. So that's how that started. My husband, I came home and he was like, I just gave you that book. Like, what happened?
I think that's amazing. That is, and actually, I'm imagining you on Guy Raz's "How I Built This," or how I'm like, and you're going to tell that story. He's going to say, no, because everybody else talks about having to work for years for the funding, and you just got it.
Yeah,
that's really amazing.
I was lucky because these 2 guys are actually ended up being good friends, and I was very lucky now that I know a lot about the investment world and who to trust and who not to trust. And I just got 2 incredible people, and they were patient because at first what we did was they were excited about music, so we put together a music company and we had this product. And at first I wasn't trying to market at all. I was just getting listeners, and I was doing a really good job. And somebody else came along and said, hey, you're really good at marketing. Would you consult us? We'll pay you a lot more and you don't have to listen to bad music anymore. And I was like, that sounds so good. Let's do that. So that was the Walmart account. And so suddenly I had a marketing agency and I was working with the largest retailer in the world on a unique project. And for this project, I built a spreadsheet system to manage my mind because I was overwhelmed by all the moving parts. And my spreadsheet system got Walmart 130% ROI year over year for 3 years.
That is amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go back to Guy Raz needs to meet you.
Yes, please.
So we'll just have to figure that out. But I have a feeling, considering how the universe seems to love you, I think you're going to find that anyway.
The universe is good. Yeah, that's
yes.
For sure. I mean, what's really interesting too, Anne, is that the way that, so there's things that I learned in radio that actually have applied to marketing. So I was a fiction writing major. I do like writing, but I'm really interested in the theater of the mind. Which writing and radio both do, right? They activate that imagination. You have to make the connection.
Yes.
And with radio, we're taught to leave space, right? So a very powerful trick, I pulled this on someone the other day, is to be silent.
And it's very hard for me. So I'm going to try that.
It's hard. And what do you do when you hear silence on the radio? People turn it up, right? So I started to think about, well, how can we translate that to writing? And what does that look like in your writing? And sometimes it's just the cadence, right? Like when I write, I actually say it out loud so I can hear how it's, because you hear how it reads as well, right?
Right.
And so I'm thinking about the sound constantly. Or we were also taught at XM, we were recorded all the time. So we made mistakes on purpose to make it sound live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do similar things in my marketing, maybe sometimes leaving mistakes or just making it purposefully human. So if I'm going to say yellow, I might write YELLOOOOOO, because again, I'm
Right,
hearing it. I'm trying to like get you that feeling of what live feels like this here,
right,
right?
right.
So yeah, it's really interesting to me. I love it when life comes full circle. Like that's how you know you're living a good one, right?
Well, and I think it's funny because as long as I think that takes self-awareness, right? If you're self-aware, you can see that because you've followed your life, whereas so many people are living it and just kind of going out and like leaving all the that whatever is behind. And for me, I feel like I the same thing. I was a writer, but I was also an Ironman and an athlete. And so much of that spills into this life, right? So much of it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I learned that lesson way back then.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I mean, the self-awareness that gets back to meditation. So good job making that circle, right? Like, and I think that's a huge, because when you're self-aware, then you're aware of others around you, at the same time.
right,
And I think you attract more goodness because you can see it coming, and or you can see the warnings as well, right? So
right,
it's a better scenario, and it's all about. I know we're going to talk about this later, but it's all about being yourself, which is so corny and cheesy. But like when you are truly yourself and truly aware, you can. You're not moving through life. It's like one life, and you are moving together, right?
right, exactly. You know what? I'm just going to skip to that, and we're going to come back to the other stuff later because I want to tell people why I invited you on. You do have a great story. You have this really cool, amazing. I went from this to CEO of a startup, and and I'm a woman-owned business, and it's a cool story. But what really attracted me to you, and I've known Chris, who works with you for I guess a year and a half now, and I adore him. He's wonderful. But what attracted me to you was the live videos you were doing on Twitter, in which you were like this, going, "Why the hell am I doing this?" And I just thought it was so real, and I loved that you admitted that.
Thanks. Yeah. So, by the way, Chris is also a rock and roll DJ. That's how we know each other.
Yes, I did know that. Yes.
It's funny. They give really good phone, it turns out. So it's funny that you say that. So I actually paused. Those are my videos of the day. I do it. It's called A Day in the Life of a Startup Entrepreneur. I started doing them about 2 years ago. My friends Ian Util and Brian Kramer both were encouraging me to do this, just to give you an insider's look at what it's like to be a female entrepreneur and to show you the nitty gritty, like to take you to the green room. Back to music, right?
Yeah.
And it's a 60-second thing, or I try to make it 60 seconds. But I haven't done it for 6 weeks, and I'll tell you why. I had a tough time. And just to be really honest, so a year and a half ago, I circled $2 million, and I couldn't find a lead investor here in New York, and it was really incredibly frustrating. And a lot of stuff was happening. I didn't really understand it. And my female advisors had to tell me that there was a male quotient happening. And this is when all that data came out that only 2% of all female-led companies get venture money. So like I'm having to work 98% harder, right?
Right.
My male counterparts. And so there was this weird aha. And so I said, well, screw this. And I dropped the company burn from $100,000 down to $10,000, which means my staff, including Chris, hasn't been paid for almost 16 months, right? Many of them, which
Right.
is testament to them and the company. And we took a risk this summer. We got into launch with Jason Calacanis, who's an amazing investor in Silicon Valley. We got in, we went, we kicked butt, we graduated top of the class, and I had a round of $2.5 million with 4 million circled, lead, couple of other term sheets coming in. It was all there, and then the world exploded, and
Yes.
my round evaporated. So I stuck my head in the sand because my perception was, oh, I failed twice to raise this money.
Right.
I felt like shit. I felt like I can't explain to you because I've been punched in the face for 4 years every day. And it doesn't really bother me anymore. Like I'm pretty resilient. I pretty get up
Yeah.
every day, but this was really difficult. And and then I was trying to take a vacation. I needed one so badly. And here we are, COVID. Suddenly, like my current investors were sweating me about what's going on, and I just like don't want to talk to anybody. Chris got coronavirus, my employee,
Right.
and then
Right.
it was my mom's birthday, and then it was Easter, and then at the same time, just like all of you, we're trying to procure life goods because we don't know how to do it, right? So like all I wanted to do was disconnect, and the whole world wants me to connect, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it was shitty. I mean, it was awful, and I'm feeling better. I'm not feeling like a 10. I feel like a 6.
Okay. Well, that's a good way. I like that you said that. Again, when we went through hell with my middle son, and I was getting my hair done, and this woman said to me, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm good." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Life is shit." It's like, and I gave her the whole spiel, and I was like, "Oh, that feels better."
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes.
And it's important, I think, because it empowers. It's not about whining and it's not about complaining. It's about empowering other people to relate to you and to give yourself permission to feel bad, because I think it's good to do that, to go there and get it out, and giving other people permission to be authentic with you.
Right. Well, yes. And I think people look at business owners, people look at you, people look at other business owners, and I think, man, their life is so cool, and they don't see the pressure you're under. And if you can be real and say that, then they can say, yeah, this is really hard. If you can admit it, they can admit it. And I think it's actually been my success in my agency has come from that, because people say, how do you keep your clients? How have you kept your clients through this? It's because they know they can call me. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's going to be my dog. They know they can call me, and I'm going to say, as a matter of fact, I may throw it over to you if he does that again. But
No
yeah, if
worries.
people can be real with you, that it helps so much. And I think that's what you absolutely exude, that authenticity.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I can't help it, right? So one of my advisors and investors, it was about 4 years ago when we were starting this journey, and we're going through this hard time again. Another one. I mean, that's what startup life is like. And he said to me, "Just be yourself," which sounds so cliche, and I totally rolled my eyes. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But I wasn't myself. I was going to these meetings with investors, and I thought they were business meetings. And I thought that a business meeting, I needed to wear like a suit and be really super polite and have a briefcase and all these things. And F that. That's not how it is. And that's not how it is in startup life at all.
No.
And so I just let it go. I just let that thing that you were taught to do by whoever, parent, society. And also, like, I didn't go to Wharton or Harvard. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, I don't know. It's not my thing. I don't even own a suit. Like, I just
Right.
I don't fit in there. And so I wear jeans and cowboy boots because that's what I like.
Well, and I think you make people more comfortable that way. The conversations I have with my clients, I'm not talking about things that go over their head. I'm talking to them in a way that they understand what I'm saying. And I'm not okay with that. And at first I wasn't. I was like, oh, I should talk like this guy over here who speaks in acronyms, because that's what people in tech do. And it's not what I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It takes some discovery too, because you don't really, it's nerve-wracking. I've learned to be embarrassed. I mean, I'm embarrassed all the time. That's just my state of being. I mean, my husband sometimes is like, can you fit both feet in there?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also part of the deal. And like, I've learned, like the other day, I was on a call with an investor, and this is such a weird time, but I've been working from home for 20 years. I've been on Zoom calls since Zoom started and before that. So like, this is not new to me, but I know it is for other people, and I'm just trying to keep them,
Right.
comfortable. And so I was like, all right, who's not wearing pants today?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's it. You've got to keep people comfortable. I want to go back though, because I wonder whether women are better at that, because we were going to talk about being a woman-owned business, and I'm wondering whether women business owners are better at that than men, or whether we're less comfortable being ourselves. Um, or what it's like really.
That's a super good question. I'm going to say, as a whole, I feel like we are less better because the pressure of not screwing up is much greater. And that's been my experience, for example. So women are harder on themselves, like I am,
Right.
because our standard has to be much higher. And you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to feel shame. Nobody wants to feel that way. The competition is just higher. However, as I think you're pointing out, what we do have innately better than men is this particular gut. Like our gut is the center of life, right? We have
Right.
this like built-in instinctual antenna that tells us what to do and what not to, but we are uniquely bad at listening to it, which is interesting.
Exactly. Exactly. I hired a personal coach, and I was telling her some stories, and she says, all these stories that you're aggravated about right now, she says, every single one of them started with, I knew I shouldn't.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God. So now when I get that feeling, I trust it much, much more. So
That's good. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's really hard to do. For me, my body starts to scream at me. And like, so the moment I'm in pain, I know something's wrong and I need to change.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to ask you a question. One of the things that I found, and I have had a hard time when people would label me as a woman-owned business,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
I think part of it was I was afraid people were going to think I was a man hater, you
Yeah.
know? And I was like, but I'm not, because if you look at my clients, most of them are men, and I'm very comfortable in that. And you just said you have investors, your first two investors were men. So, how do you
Yeah.
feel?
I don't like the label. I was a tomboy and I think it's annoying. I just don't like it at all. And I also don't like a lot of womeny things like pink and stuff, whatever. I
Pink.
just don't, you know?
Exactly.
But I also, there's a couple of things. Number one, I think it's important to lift up people who need help, whoever they are, whether it's women or people of color or people in, different income levels. Like, so that's important. And it's the job of the people in the same club first to do that.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I'm in business, so I'm not stupid. This is something to leverage. Hello. Like,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that's it. Yeah. Somebody asked me that because I work with, I have three other women who work with me, and then my transgender son, and a guy said to me, oh, you're so lucky. He says, you can get all this minority stuff.
check the boxes.
Oh, hadn't even thought about it. Yeah. So
Right.
it is funny. It is funny. All right. I want to go back to AI and the human touch, and because that's what you've created, is something that allows for a human touch in what you've created. So how does that work? And how are you putting it to work I know you're working with big companies, but you're also working with small companies. So how's it working for everybody?
Yeah. So with lately, like I said, the AI's job is to start you at third base, but then the human gets you to home plate. And I want to explain that for a second. So humans on their own, great. AI on its own, great. But together, this is 1 + 1 = 3, right? So that's the super money there, and it's an essential component, right? They need to be working alongside. So we give our customers the opportunity to do that, to optimize and humanize all the content, and we actually we highly encourage it. In fact, like if you're not, you're really missing the boat. And it's funny because people really just want to push the button and walk away. But that's not going to give them the results that they also desire. So we have to give a lot of training on this. But that collaboration is super important. And I think that what's interesting is that this is about emotion, right? So marketing, you give me money because you like me or you like my product. There's some kind of feeling that you get about it. And when you and this goes with sales too, it's not just marketing. Like marketing and sales are really the same thing. Let's just call it growth. But if you're not constantly thinking about how to connect, how to be emotional, then you should get out of the the job, frankly. Like I was talking to someone, we were talking about social selling, and like all selling is social and has been since the wheel was invented. Like you can't separate those two things. So like,
Right.
why bother? But the point of the AI is to do the dirty work for you, right? And then also to give the ability to scale, because that's what's needed if you want to succeed. I mean, with the content world, so one of my favorite phrases, Anne, is it comes from an old marketing adage, which is if you're not marketing, it's like winking in the dark. Get it?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're broadcasting once a day on Twitter, you're winking in the dark. No one's going to see that. What are the chances I'm going to be scrolling by? So you have to have the quantity, right? And you have to have the quantity insane. It's like radio. We used to play the same song 300 times a week in hopes that you would hear it once, right?
Right.
But you need that quality, obviously, as well, because nobody wants to feel spammed. Nobody wants to feel not mass email or mass message or anything like that. So that's that delicate balance that we provide.
Well, and I love, but one of the things that you take some work out of what we do, right? You take some work out of it. And by doing that, it allows us to do something that at the first social media marketing world I went to, somebody told me, oh no, you can't do that. They said you can't. So what we do, and you've seen us do it, we respond to every single comment. We respond for all of our clients. We become them online. And the person said, oh, you can't sustain that. But part of it is that we have good tools that take some of the work off so we can sustain that, because that commenting is just as important, or if not more important, than the other end. So yeah.
It's funny, like people don't want to do work. Like we talk about QuickBooks a lot when we're talking to customers, because it's like when you sit down to do your accounting, it's a drag, and you use tools to do it, but you have to sit down and do work. Like it's work. There's work involved. It's not magic,
Yeah.
It's incredible that people don't want to do work. I'm like, guys, but like you said, like we're finding that our customers are, it depending on the size of the company, but we're either eliminating an employee lately, or we're saving them hours and hours of work to get more done, or we're giving them the ability to upcharge their clients, right, on an additional service, because we're giving you the ability to do that for them,
right. Exactly.
What we do, by the way, is so we dog food our product 100%. I don't know if you know that term, dog food.
I don't know that term.
Purina came up with it. I believe when they actually started feeding their food to the dogs of the employees, and saw the results. So it's like using your own product on yourself, drinking your own champagne.
Okay.
So lately we don't do any paid ads. We take podcasts like this, right? And we'll instantly push the button and get 60 social posts that are all AI tested automatically, with little video clips that match, what we say. And then we push them out over time, because in 2 months, some valuable piece of information that you and I said here is still relevant. It doesn't have to be an immediate, thing. And what we found is that by the time we actually get to our customers, the leads are already warm. So we look at customers that either comment, like, or reshare our content, and then get them into a conversation. And then we have a 50% trial to sale conversion rate because of that, right? So we're using the social, the connection, the human, and the AI together to make it all happen.
Yeah. Well, I love it, and I adore you, and I think that's come across on Twitter, because I've constantly almost stalking you.
You're cool, Anne. You're so cool.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for. I mean, this is that lift up that we were talking, right? Like we got to pass it on. I just want to say, my hair is so bad. I look like I look like Tom Petty. I mean, I love Tom, but like, this is what's happening to all of us, right? Like,
I think it's just, I know, I was just thinking about it this morning, and I'm like, how many of us feel guilty every time we think that? Because when you're on Twitter, everybody's like, oh, you're so worried about getting your hair cut and people are dying. I'm like, oh, I just am having a moment. Let me have my moment. Come on.
No, every woman I know, like we do every day, as soon as we get on camera, this is the first thing we do.
I know. Yesterday, I just got this new light. And once in a while, you'll see it. There you go. See it in my So I got the new light. You can see it shining at my, but I haven't been wearing any makeup. And yesterday I turned on the light. I was like, oh crap.
This is what matters, right? This is important stuff.
Exactly. I want to go back to something I said right before we started,
Okay.
which is it's been fun to bring you on. It's been fun to, get to know you and to get your product out there. But I really am doing this, I swear, because I'm so lonely in my house.
I love that you said that. I was like, yes.
So this has been fun to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, too bad we don't have like a drink or something while we're
Me
doing
too. I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a really amazing. I'm so glad to know you, Anne, and I hope that. I mean, as always, I'm sure Chris has said this, but if there's something we can do to make your lately life better, always we'll do it. But if there's something I personally can do to make your life better, just ask. I'm glad to help.
I will let you know. Hey, Kate, thank you so much. I want to remind people you can get a not a trial. How do you do it? You show them.
Yeah, sneak peek.
There you go, a sneak and peek at it. And when Chris did it for Anastasia, I was in the middle of a meeting and she knew I was in the middle of a meeting and still called me to say, you got to look at what Chris has.
That's amazing.
So,
oh my
yeah,
God.
it's amazing. So yeah, it really is very, very cool. So thank you very, very much for coming on. I'll see you on Twitter.
I'll see you on Twitter. Thanks, Anne.
All right. Bye-bye.